I lost my virginity on a Wednesday. It wasn't planned. It wasn't romantic in the traditional sense. It wasn't with someone my age or even someone I should have been with. But it was everything. Intense, terrifying, soft, and unforgettable. I was 19, and that summer I'd gone to stay with my Aunt Sylvia in coastal California. My parents were going through a divorce, and I needed to get away. Aunt Sylvia's house was perched on a cliff overlooking the ocean, big windows, wooden decks, wind chimes. I remember thinking it looked like something out of a dream. What I didn't know, what no one told me, was that he was living just 100 feet away, in the little guest house. His name was Luke. He was 32, taller than anyone I'd ever dated. Dark hair, calm eyes, voice like warm whiskey. He was the kind of man who didn't talk much, but when he did, every word seemed to matter. He worked with boats, restoring them apparently, and spent most of his time shirtless, covered in oil, alone in the garage. I noticed him the first day I arrived, from the window. He didn't look up, didn't wave, but I felt something, like a tiny flame somewhere in my stomach. I'd never reacted to someone like that. It scared me and thrilled me. I started inventing reasons to walk by the garage. I'm just checking the mailbox, I'd say to Aunt Sylvia. Or, do you need anything from town? Sometimes I wouldn't say anything. I'd just walk, slowly, pretending to look at the trees, at the sea. But really, I was watching him. He almost never spoke. Until one morning I dropped my notebook while passing by. He picked it up before I could, glanced at the cover and said, "You write?" I nodded. My heart was racing. "I try," I whispered. He handed it to me. Our fingers brushed. My stomach flipped. "That's brave," he said, "to write." Then he turned around and kept working. As if nothing happened. As if he hadn't just opened a door that I'd been too scared to knock on. We started talking. Only a few minutes at first. Small things, weather, books, music. I found out he liked jazz and strong coffee, that he once lived in New York, that he didn't like phones. I started bringing him coffee in the mornings. He never asked me to. But he always took it, smiled slightly and said, "Thanks, kid." Kid. It stung every time. I wasn't a kid, but I also knew I wasn't like the women he probably dated. I was softer, quieter, still learning how to be in my body. One day I asked, "Do you always call people kid?" He looked at me, really looked at me and said, "Only the ones who make me forget. They're not." I didn't know what to say to that, but I couldn't stop thinking about it all night. I started dreaming about him. Hot, breathless dreams. Dreams where I was in his lap, where his hands were on my thighs, where his lips moved against mine slowly, as if savoring every inch. I'd wake up panting, heart racing, wet between my legs. It scared me, but I didn't want it to stop. He noticed I was nervous around him. More quiet, more flushed. One afternoon I brought him coffee and he asked, "You okay?" I nodded, lied. "Just hot out." He looked at me. "No, you're different." I blushed. "I'm not a good idea," he said softly, and then he turned around and walked back into the garage. That night I cried into my pillow, because I knew he wanted me. I saw it in the way he looked at my mouth when I spoke, but he was too good to act on it, and I hated that part of him. It was late one evening. The house was quiet. Aunt Sylvia had gone to visit friends. I was in the backyard lying on the grass staring at the stars. I heard footsteps, looked up. It was Luke. He sat down beside me, close but not too close. "You always watch the stars?" he asked. "Only when I can't sleep," I said. "And tonight?" "I'm dreaming with my eyes open." He looked at me, long and slow. "I shouldn't be here," he whispered, "but I can't stop coming back." My heart stopped. He reached over, touched my wrist, lightly, barely a touch. I moved closer, until our arms were touching, our legs, our shoulders. "Do you want me to go?" he asked. I shook my head. He leaned in, kissed my cheek, my jaw, my neck. Then he pulled back. Not tonight, he said. Not unless you're sure. And I wasn't. Not yet. But I was close. So close. That Wednesday, I wore nothing extra. Just a soft white dress that clung to my skin like breath. No bra, no distractions, just lace beneath. I didn't plan it. Not exactly. But my body already knew what it needed. I stood at his door, trembling. He opened. A towel around his waist, water dripping from his chest. He didn't speak. "I want you," I whispered. My nipples were hard under the fabric. I knew he saw. He looked at me, long, deep, then stepped aside without a word. I walked inside. The room smelled like cedar and salt and something male. He closed the door, turned to me, slid the dress off my shoulders, slowly, deliberately, like he was peeling away hesitation. I stood before him, bare, exposed, ready. His fingers traced my collarbone, my breasts, lingered on my nipple. I gasped, not loud but desperate. Wetness pooled between my thighs. He cupped my cheek. "Are you sure?" he asked. I nodded. "I want to feel you." He kissed my neck, my shoulders lower, drawing shapes with his mouth along every curve. His tongue found the hollow beneath my ear, and I moaned, raw and real. My fingers dug into his back. His hand slipped between my legs. His touch was hot, confident, so wet, already. He murmured against my skin. I pressed closer, begging silently. He laid me down on the bed, spread my legs, knelt between them, staring at me like something sacred. When he entered me, slow, deep, my whole body tensed. It hurt. A little. But more than anything, it was real. He paused. "Breathe," he whispered. He kissed my forehead, my lips, my chest, then moved, slow at first. Each motion a wave. I felt everything. How he filled me, how I trembled, how the pressure built inside me like a storm. He held my hips, locked eyes. I panted, moaned, scratched his back. He picked up the pace, slid one hand under my spine. "More," I begged. "Don't stop." He didn't stop. My body shattered, somewhere between pain, pleasure, and something primal. I screamed his name, clenched around him, lost myself. The orgasm hit like a crashing wave, hot, intense, shaking. I arched, cried out, buried my face in his chest. He came seconds later, silently, roughly, his teeth on my neck. We collapsed together, tangled in sheets. My body still thrumming, my lips swollen. He kissed my hair, my fingers. "You okay?" he whispered. I nodded. I wasn't a girl anymore. I was a woman, wanted. Finally, we lay tangled in his sheets. My skin still buzzing, my heart pounding. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I shouldn't have." But I pressed my finger to his lips. "Don't ruin it," I said. "Please." He pulled me close, and for the first time in my life, I felt like a woman, not a girl, not a virgin, a woman who knew what it meant to be wanted. I never told Aunt Sylvia. We never made it a real thing. He left 2 weeks later, said he had work in Oregon, that he needed to clear his head. I never saw him again. But I still think about him, about that night, about how it felt to give myself to someone fully. Not because I had to, not because I was in love, but because I was ready, and because he made me feel like I mattered. I lost my virginity on a Wednesday, and I'd do it all over again.